I call Colum, Eastwood.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. We often say that a week's a long time in politics, and I think, given the last week we've had, it definitely is. But in Derry, a half a century is a bit of an eternity, because we're coming up to 50 years ago when the Lockwood report, which was basically a sectarian document, announced Coleraine as the site for the new university, the University of Ulster. That was a decision, and it is important. This isn't just about looking back. It is important to put it in this context. That was a decision that has left a legacy, a very negative legacy in our city, amongst other things, of economic deprivation. It has, and the failure to address it in the subsequent 50 years, has made it much more difficult for our city to see the peace dividend that maybe other places have seen. It's a well-worn phrase, but the economic and unemployment black spot of the North, that's not something we wear as a badge of honour. We really wish it wasn't the case. But it is, unfortunately, true that our city lags behind when it comes to the employment figures. And I think we all recognise, whilst we will come in here and argue for lots of different things in terms of economic things that we can use as economic expansion tools, I think we would all recognise that no matter how many roads we build, unless we have a proper university with, and when we talk about the figure of 9,400, that for us was a compromise. That was a starting point. Unless we get at least to that point, then we have no chance of redressing some of the difficulties that we face. There's recent figures around from the Census of Employment. They're just revealed there in July and revised this month. It says there's 15,000 more jobs in the 4 Belfast constituencies than there was in 2009, just after the financial crash. The picture in Derry is very, very different. In the same period, we lost nearly 2,000 jobs. And Derry is supposed to be, alongside Belfast, as part of the economic strategy, one of the major places that we look at in terms of economic expansion. We're contracting in terms of the employment figures. So for us, the issue around Magee isn't just, as Pat Ramsey said, that we want more Derry people to go to university. It's a fundamental economic issue that needs to be resolved, that just never has been resolved. Without the proper number of students doing the proper kind of high-tech courses, we see very welcome news today of the science park opening at Fort George. That's fantastic. But unless we want to properly maximise and utilise that opportunity, we need to ensure that we have high-tech graduates going from the University of Ulster at Magee into that site, so we can build another building at Fort George and employ more people and ensure we have more people in the city earning a decent wage and contributing to the economy for the whole of the North. Our view is that this is and I sometimes feel for the Minister, although I didn't feel for him when he made that announcement on the radio. I think it was in August. I think it was an insensitive way to make a point, and we all know the point he was making. But people in Derry, I think, saw through it because, as I pointed out earlier, this is a 50-year debate, not one that has just arrived as a result of welfare reform. So I think it was insensitive and it was a mistake. And I think the Minister, to be fair to him, has recognised that, and I think he is again committed to the expansion of Magee. My view is it's much bigger an issue than just the Minister. This is an issue that needs to be at the heart of our executive, trumpeted by the First and Deputy First Minister. And I think it's shocking today that there's nobody over there, nobody from the DUP who cares enough, clearly, to come into this chamber and fight for the economic survival of our city. That, for me, is a very worrying development, because as far as we're concerned, this needs to be handled at the very top. And I'm glad to see that the Deputy First Minister said in the front of the Derry Journal that he would spearhead the campaign. We're going to hold him to that, and we're going to hold the Executive to that, because, and Ms McLaughlin and I will disagree about this, but there was no proper mention of the expansion of Magee within the programme for government. It said that they wanted to develop the one plan. As far as I was concerned, we had already developed it. What we need to do is implement it, and what we needed to do in the programme for government was specifically mention Magee and some of the other aspects to it. Some of them were mentioned. Edmonton was mentioned. Fort George was mentioned. Jobs targets were mentioned. But there was no specific mention of expansion of Magee, and no budget given to the Minister to make it happen. So, in terms of a positive ending, Mr Deputy Speaker, we're rowing behind now the commitment given by the Deputy First Minister, the commitments given by this Minister. I hope the First Minister shares in those commitments, because what we need to do now is ensure that we deliver this. I don't welcome the fact that we're back here a year later. I don't want to be here next year.
I now call on the Minister.